Don't have any books with me today. It's just gonna be me, talking head Jess, no books to show, just talking about my goals and the channel. I've never done that before, so I'm feeling a little nervous to wade into that territory, but I think I can do it. I think it would be kind of fun. I'm not setting up a Discord or anything. We're just talking Voxer read along. One book in March. We can do it. Everyone, it's me, Jess. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I don't get sick because everyone seems to have COVID around me and I have a little bit of a sniffle and I haven't been feeling well. I've been feeling like I've been fighting something for days and I'm just hoping, hoping that I don't get sick. I don't know. It's just, I will edit out all of the sniffles. So I had asked I did a poll on my channel just asking what you all wanted to see kind of next, and I had the most votes, not for the super secret idea for video, but for 2024 goals and channel plans. And I guess maybe it's unfair because maybe I made it seem like there was some big announcement. There really isn't that much that's going to change on my channel or in my reading life. I'm going to talk about what my reading goals are for the year and what my thinking is around setting goals. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about projects, what I'm hoping for with the channel, although I'm a little reticent to set any expectations around the BookTube channel for people who are watching. I'm really impressed with myself that I have been able to upload videos throughout the entire year. Really, my goal last year was just to upload videos and just to be here, and I'm really impressed with myself that I managed that. Let's start with the books. The first thing I will say is that I've already set my goal for the number of books that I want to read this year to 70 books, which is 10 more books than I set my goal for last year. And I'll just quickly explain that my reasoning behind goal setting is, or my thinking about it is that I don't want to set the goal to be too low because I want it to be motivational. I want to have something to work towards, but I also don't want the goal to be so high that it becomes demotivating. It needs to be something that is doable, that's reasonable, and that is achievable. So I like to set my goal just kind of a little bit lower than expectations, or a little bit lower than maybe what I could achieve, because that is what I find to be the sweet spot. That is what motivates me the most. I've seen people who set their goal of reading to be 0 and they just want to mood read. I totally respect that. But I have to say that the goal setting does work for me to keep me reading, to keep me engaged, to keep me, yeah, it just is a good thing for me. It works very well for me to set a goal. And for it to not be, I also see people whose goal is to read 100 books or over 100 books. And I know that for myself, that is too much, at least at this stage. If I were to set a goal of 100 books, I would just feel badly that I wasn't achieving it. I would probably rush my reading. I might read short books or children's books, or pick the reading so that I could get more books read. I don't want to do that at all. I want to have a reading goal which just represents really as close to a realistic representation of my reading habits, what motivates me, and what I'm trying to achieve, I guess, if that makes sense. All that to say that I've set my Goodreads reading goal at 70 books. In terms of what kinds of books do I want to read? So in terms of what am I going to be reading and how am I approaching my reading, it's kind of interesting because on the one hand, I don't want the channel or the bookish community to influence what I read too heavily. But on the other hand, I really enjoy being part of the BookTube community and being part of the conversation, and it is going to dictate a lot of what I read. And for the most part, that is what happened last year. So just reflecting back on last year, I did read books that were either being talked about online or being recommended by other booktubers. I also read books that were longlisted for prizes. I read books based on challenge prompts. All of those things I want to continue doing because I really find it just so much fun. Yes, the gamification of reading and the prizes can move your reading preferences or your reading, the decisions about what you're going to read. It can steer those decisions. But I think for me, I'm just trying to find a good balance between those and between other books that I've been meaning to read that are on my shelves with a pretty good range of different genres. I'm going to continue to just try to do kind of same as before vibes. That's where I'm going with my reading goals. So last year I think that I had some projects, which I'll talk about the whole idea of projects that I didn't get to, but I also had this idea of following prizes, which I wanted to do more of last year, which I did do more of last year. And I really think that I benefited from following the prizes. It's of course a balance between getting caught up in, like, I'm not the kind of booktuber. My channel is not the channel where you're going to find me reading the entire long list for the Women's Prize or the entire long list for the Booker Prize. That being said, I think I am moving into the direction of reading for prizes and also possibly reading shortlists for prizes. I definitely read more from the Women's Prize shortlist this year and the Booker Prize shortlist this year than I ever have before. In fact, I never followed the Booker Prize shortlist ever before. I even made a prize tag, like, do you follow the book prizes tag, which still hasn't taken off, but that's okay. I'll be doing it again this year. That aside, I did put my name forward to read the full list of I don't know how many rounds for the BookTube Prize. So that means that I'm going to be reading a fair amount of new releases or recent books. So from 2023. I should look at the rules. I should be up on the rules for the BookTube Prize. I really should. We're getting the list of books in a couple of days, and I will talk about whatever I'm allowed to talk about on the channel related to the BookTube Prize. All of this to say that I am going to be following quite a few of the prizes and participating in quite a few of the challenges that I've participated in before, and also participating in the monthly events that happen on BookTube. I don't have a whole list of them, but I can tell you, for example, that I read Say Nothing for Nonfiction November, and that has put me into a mindset of wanting to read more nonfiction books. So all this to say that this kind of participation, which I'm trying to keep it in perspective, I'm trying to keep some balance around my goals, but all of this participation, I'm not pulling back from. I'm going to continue to participate and participate maybe even a little bit more actively, but I'm not going to the full other end where I am going to read every single book on the long list of every single prize. Some general commitments that I can make around the prizes. I'm definitely judging the BookTube Prize this year, which means that I'll be reading a lot of contemporary literary fiction. I also want to read Women's Prize and participate in the conversations around the Women's Prize. The Readalongs, I think, I'm not sure, possibly really be a part of the conversation around the Women's Prize this year. That had been a goal of mine last year, and I actually went back and I read Ruth Ozeki's The Book of Form and Emptiness and Meg O'Farrell's Hamnet, which had been the previous winners of the Women's Prize, recent winners. And that was a great experience. And I ended up finding some really wonderful books through reading for the Women's Prize. I didn't manage to read them all. One of the big issues that I have is getting copies of books. So I do have a solution for that. I think I'm going to start using my Kobo, which is my e-reader, in order to get copies of new releases. And I also have not made enough use of my library. I did look at the books that were longlisted for the Giller Prize last year, but I did not read them all. And I didn't, in fact, read as many as I had hoped to. The problem with the Giller Prize for me is that it comes in a time of year where I'm really busy at work. So I don't want to overcommit, but I absolutely will be following the Giller Prize, and I will be reading hopefully more than I read this year, because I like the idea of focusing on Canadian literature, given that I'm Canadian. Keeping that in mind, I read the winner of the Carol Shields Prize last year, and We Were Sisters, and I really, really liked it. It's not something that I highlighted that much on my channel, but I really, really liked When We Were Sisters. And now I'm reading Junie. This, if you didn't catch my January TBR, I'm going to be reading Junie, which is longlisted for Canada Reads. So I think I'm going to focus on those prizes, and Canada Reads is another one. When I find out more about the Carol Shields Prize, and also just because I think it works better for me in terms of timing around my work schedule, I think I'm going to explore that prize a little bit more and look at the long and short list of the Carol Shields Prize and try to read some of those books and talk about those on my channel as well. So in terms of prizes, the ones that I'm going to be focusing on, again, Women's Prize, Giller Prize, Carol Shields Prize, and the Canada Reads list. In terms of the Booker and the International Booker, I think that they're really interesting prizes to follow, but I feel like the level of commitment required to read those books. For example, I read The Birthday Party this summer, and it really asked a lot of me as a reader. It's not the kind of, these aren't the kind of books that and same with Study for Obedience. I feel like they're the kinds of books that I need to spend a bit of time with, so I'm reticent to commit to reading everything on those lists. I will probably pick and choose and try to squeeze in the ones that I can that sound the most interesting to me. So that's what to expect in terms of the prizes. And again, I am committed to reading all of the books that I am assigned in my round. I'm judging for fiction in the BookTube Prize, so I have to read all of those books. So I'm hoping there'll be lots to talk about on the channel in terms of prize reading and prize books. I am going to be posting 10 classics that I want to read in 2024, which is something that I've been doing for, I guess, the last 2 years since I started my channel. I have a nice stack of classics that I want to get to this year. The other things that I wanted to try to do this year as sort of goals or additions to the way I approach my reading life is, one, I would like to read more nonfiction. As I mentioned, reading Say Nothing during Nonfiction November was such a great experience for me. I really enjoyed it so much. I also really enjoy reading memoirs, and I really enjoyed reading true crime. So I think I'm going to probably try to read more nonfiction, and in that vein, I've joined a nonfiction, well, I've sort of pseudo-joined a nonfiction book club. It's a bit tricky because it's a very popular book club, and if you don't get your spot, then you can't go and you go on a waiting list. So I've signed up for a couple of months in the spring where there is room to read a couple of nonfiction books. That's kind of fun because it's in person. I'll be reading a little bit more nonfiction and talking about more nonfiction on the channel. I really had a really nice time rereading The Daughter of Time, and I'm not generally a rereader, but I really enjoyed rereading that book. It's got me thinking that I would like to include some rereads in my TBRs. I have a couple of rereads usually on my classics TBR, so there is that, but I'm thinking more about rereading books that I've read more recently, or just books that I loved that aren't necessarily considered to be classics. I need to, okay, so last year there was this whole conversation about DNFing, and one of my goals was to DNF more books. I had this whole idea that I would become a DNFer, and I hate to say it, but I'm not a DNFer. I am more of an abandoner of books than a DNFer of books. And that kind of makes me a little bit sad, because the books that got abandoned in the past year are all books that I really truly wanted to read, that were good, that I was enjoying. So I think that I'm going to make more of a commitment to finishing the books that I start. I'm going to implement a rule where if I haven't finished a book that I started that I'm enjoying, I have to have finished it within 2 months of having started it. And I think that this is a good way to manage it, because I am the type of reader who reads 3, 4, 5 books at a time, usually about 5 books at a time. And I think that that's one of the reasons why this happens to me. But I really like reading that way, so I'm not willing to change that reading behavior to reading 1 book at a time, because I know that that's not the right fit for me. So rather than cut down on the number of books that I read at one time, I'm going to just implement this rule that I have to finish it within 2 months of having started it if I'm enjoying it. And if I'm not going to finish it, then I can sort of officially DNF it. So it's like a decision has to be made about the book. It's like if it has to go back to the library, then it goes back to the library. So those are some of my resolutions. I'm going to read more nonfiction. I'm going to finish the books that I start within 2 months of having started it if I'm enjoying it. In terms of just the format, of books, I mentioned that I think the best thing for me is to use my Kobo so that I can get new releases. The other thing I want to do is I really want to update my library memberships because there are quite a few other libraries around Montreal. As a teacher, I have access to both all of the university libraries actually, and I just got a special card to access university libraries. I'm not sure how much contemporary literary fiction there will be in those libraries, but I haven't even checked. And then I also want to take advantage of the National Library here in Quebec because the National Library, I've heard, has an excellent e-book selection and audiobook selection. I don't really do a lot on audio. I will listen to the occasional book on audio. I will sometimes listen to a book and follow along while the audio is going, so reading and listening at the same time. Sometimes I do that, but I would say it's less than 10% of my reading is on audiobook, and I have no objection to audiobook at all. It's just that I have trouble following the story if I'm listening to an audiobook. Usually I forget what's going on and I can't back it up and I get confused. So I prefer to read a book, but I am open to using the e-reader so that I can get access to new releases, because that was one of the big problems that I found this year, is just not being able to get access to new releases, despite the fact that a lot of them are available in my library. So utilizing my library, requesting books from the library when I want them, because they will order those books if you request them. So that means pre-planning. That means thinking a little bit ahead of time of what I'm going to be needing to ask for. And also trying to get the ebooks through the National Library, through Libby, and really setting up Libby so that I can use it, because I haven't really done that. I haven't really taken advantage of Libby yet. So getting more tech savvy about my reading, let's just say, like getting with the digital times over here. In general, I'm really happy with the number of book clubs and the types of book clubs that I'm in. I really have enjoyed that Eric and Scott, two great booktubers, started Patreons last year, and they started book clubs, and I joined both of them. I'm not able to always participate in both of them in the same month, but I think I'm going to alternate back and forth depending on what they're reading that month and try to spread the love. I'm really into that idea of being parts of those discussions. I really love the buddy read relationships that I've developed through BookTube, and I really like my book club that is the book club that's not part of BookTube. And as I said, I'm joining a nonfiction book club, so I think I'm really at maybe my limit of book clubs. But one thing that I am considering doing is maybe doing a couple of read-alongs throughout the year, hosted by moi, hosted through my channel. And I don't want to overcommit there, but I know that Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man was one book that I had somebody comment saying that would be a great book to read as a read-along, and I think that I was thinking about that, and I'm going to see if it's a possibility to set that up as a read-along. I think it's a pretty big book. It's over 500 pages. I might do it in March, which traditionally March is March of the Mammoths. I don't know if it's a mammoth. I don't know what the definition is of a mammoth. Maybe you can educate me in the comments below, but I thought that might be a good time to set up a read-along on Voxer with people who might be interested in reading that with me. I've never done that before, so I'm feeling a little nervous to wade into that territory, but I think I can do it. I think it would be kind of fun. I'm not setting up a Discord or anything. We're just talking Voxer, read-along, one book in March. We can do it. So that sounds like a really fun project and a little bit different from anything I've done before on the channel. So book clubs, buddy reads, read-alongs and readathons, more library books. I must say it though, probably less projects. Last year I had these big grand plans of doing all kinds of different vlogs where I read a book and then I watched the movie adaptation, and I had all these different ideas for vlogs, and in the end I did do quite a bit of vlogging last year, and I really enjoy making vlogs, so I will continue to make vlogs. The college reading vlog was one that I really had a great time doing, and I'm planning to do that again this year. I have some other ideas for concepts for vlogs, but I don't have any of them really fully formed. I do have an idea where I would like to make a video, so I guess we're getting into videos and channel plans. I would like to make a video where I read the books that over the past year, because I've had so many of you wonderful viewers comment in the comment sections about recommendations of books or books that I've talked about that you've read that you've really loved that I haven't gotten to yet. So I'm thinking I'm going to put together a TBR of books recommended by viewers for 2024, and I would like to read more of the books that you all have recommended to me because I think that that would be really nice. I just think that that's the whole point of BookTube, isn't it? Is to share your favorite reads and get other people to read them. So I really want to be responsive in that way, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. And I might incorporate a couple of vlogs where I read books that were recommended by you. I know that there are some other booktubers who do videos of reading books from the best of lists of other booktubers, and I'm not sure if I could put that together as quickly as some people are able to, and I admire the people who are able to do that. But I might do a vlog where I read a couple of books that other booktubers recommended on their channels, because that's another fun thing to do. And I've been doing that anyway, I just haven't vlogged about it. So those are some ideas about possible vlogs for next year. The other thing that I'm thinking about is there's two other things that I'm thinking about. One is making standalone videos for certain books, but they would be more like video essays. I've already got all of the prep work done for the video that I've been talking about making about Middlemarch, for example. I think that those will be around 20 minutes, maybe even a little bit longer, because I plan to go through and do more analysis because I love that. It's very nerdy and it's super fun. So I think I might do that. It's not really so much a review as it is more like a video essay. So I'd like to do a couple of those. I think that that would be really interesting, just providing background of the author, providing background of the circumstances of the publication, any controversy that there might have been at the time, all of that sort of stuff I think would be really fun. So I might do a few of those. I was thinking of my banned books video, which I had a lot of fun making and got a really great response, honestly. Thank you so much for everyone who watched that and who commented. So yeah, I'm thinking about doing more of those kind of essay type videos around bookish content. Although I don't have any fully formed plans yet. I think they'll come to me when they come to me. Yeah, I guess I would call that series Middlemarch in Focus, or I don't know, feminist authors in focus, or something like that. Not in the sense that I would read all of the works in the collection, but that I might follow the trajectory of that idea in the literary world. Or maybe even like a video on books that have been plagiarized. I don't know. As I said, I haven't thought of all of the essay ideas yet. I'm sure they will come to me in time. Those are my plans for the channel. They are loose plans. I still have never posted one single standalone book review. I really don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm much more comfortable doing monthly wrap-ups, even though they're always 2 weeks late. Because for me, reading is more of a it's a solitary experience, but it's a social experience at the same time. It's my favorite topic of conversation and books are my favorite gift to give, and really books are my favorite thing to talk about. So lots of book chats on the channel, and I'm really looking forward to 2024. I'm really looking forward to judging the BookTube prize. I'm a little nervous, but I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm really looking forward to the possibility of maybe hosting a couple of read-alongs and just spending a lot of time in this space, talking with you all, chatting with you all in the comments, and participating with other booktubers in their readathons and their events. I'm really excited. Let me know in the comments below if there's any suggestions you have about anything that I've talked about. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything that you prefer to see over the videos that I've made that you really enjoyed. And I will take it all into consideration. I love hearing from you all. I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye! I went back and I looked at the goals that I set for last year, and it was actually quite funny. It was very funny. It's funny to look back on these videos. Is it Libby? Yeah, I think it's Libby. And a good range.